Welcome to my YouTube channel, my first YouTube video, and the purpose of this is to showcase some of the Autodrive or auto steer or whatever you want to say functionality of the this one is a Tesla Model 3 running version 2019.20.4.4. It's a most recent release. And also wanted to give you guys a nice view of what's going down in Sedona. This is it's been voted one of the prettiest drives in the country, and I hope you guys enjoy. I just want to apologize ahead of time for the fact that I am going to suck at this, and I can tell you that right now. And that's what volume is for. So hopefully it's pretty enough to hold some attention just by the view and not necessarily the commentary. But if you like rambling, then you should be all right, because I'm good at that. But anyway, downtown Sedona, it's the 18th of July 2019, somewhere around there. And yeah, it's a Sunday at about 5 o'clock, and there's people. A lot of construction downtown. They are putting in a roundabout down here, and we went past it already, a new one. There's already roundabouts in the general vicinity all around Sedona, but they're putting a new one down here, and I'm not sure if it makes a lot of sense, because traffic through here sucks, and you're going to see a nice long line of cars. So something to keep in mind right now, if you come up to Sedona to get out of the heat, although it's 102 right now, so it's not much cooler than Phoenix, but if you do, then be prepared to sit in your car. So one of the things I wanted to highlight is that if you're coming up to Sedona and you got a Tesla vehicle, and you're wondering if it's going to make it through the canyon, if you're having any problems with auto steer or auto drive or whatever you want to call it, you won't. It'll go all the way through the canyon, all the way up to the switchbacks that are up there going up towards Flagstaff. So if you want to see the sights here, and you don't want to be swerving over lines because you're staring off into the distance, then this is the way to go. And anybody that has a Tesla knows that these are the future anyway, but this, you're going to see that it has absolutely no problem going through the canyon. Now, previous versions, it did have some issues. It was drifting over the line slightly in certain spots, but for the past month or so, it's been it's been more than that. Probably about the last 3 months, it's been pretty good at just doing it. So hopefully you guys will enjoy this. Obviously, my way of speaking or my commentary isn't going to be anything to write home about, but the views are quite spectacular. I also would try to do this often enough to where you can see, hopefully, changes in season. If you care about such things, it is a pretty area, and if you wanted to see when the leaves are turning or whatever, and I'll plan on doing it often enough. If I get anybody that's even interested at all, I'll do it every week or every month or what have you, every couple weeks, just to give you guys an idea of what's going on up here, and then you can maybe plan accordingly if you wanted to see what was going on and how it was looking that week, and I could be the place to look. Right here we have Midgley Bridge. They put the fences up because unfortunately people were jumping, and yeah, So that's why they're there, to discourage stupidity. That one time, little fun story about that is that I was coming home one time. It was when I was working in Phoenix and driving to the canyon where I live, and somebody had jumped off of the bridge, and I didn't know it until actually I was in Sedona and I got here, and the guy said that it was going to be closed for at least 4 hours, and somebody had jumped and they were doing all the forensics and everything, but so essentially what I had to do is go back out from Sedona to 179 to 17, and then go up to Flagstaff and get back on 89A and come back down the canyon from Flagstaff to get back to the house, and it took me, oh boy, it took me about 7 hours to get home that day, because from Phoenix it was like 2.5 hours. But anyway, as you can see, I'm going through the canyon here. This is probably one of the most challenging things that you'll see for the Tesla to do as far as driving on a straight road. Obviously, it has to work on intersections and stuff like that, which are a lot more challenging. But these are a lot of blind turns, and it's pretty curvy, and so it has to make a lot of changes and updates very quickly, and it doesn't get to see a lot of road in front of it to figure out where to go. Now it currently has cars in front of it, so I guess it can using that all as well as other cues to figure out where to go. But I can drive this at night with just my regular lights and Autodrive, and it will just do it just fine. I Autodrive everywhere, by the way. I know some people, I was telling some people about the fact that I Autodrive anywhere, and they were like, well, you're not supposed to use it that way, but yes, you are. I mean, how are they going to figure out what's going on and get all of this data that they need to really get the autopilot autonomous driving squared away if people don't use it? And so I drive everywhere. I back and forth from Sedona to Phoenix. Certainly I use it all the time. I do it on the surface streets. I drive up here all the time. I'm sure they've got some good data through here. I've actually had some bug reports. You can, if you have a problem with the Tesla, or if it doesn't actually pick up something properly, or it doesn't make a turn properly, or whatever, if it doesn't do what it's supposed to do, you can actually hit the microphone, say bug report, and then brief description, and those will go right to the Tesla engineers that are working on the autonomous driving. So I've actually had an issue downtown Phoenix there near in Sedona on Forest Road, where it's slightly offset. So the road at the light itself, as you start into the light, it's one way, and then the lanes actually shift slightly. And what it was doing is, if I was in the right-hand lane and going through there, it would actually stay or end up in the left lane by the time I was through the intersection. And filed a bug report, ended up talking to the guys at Tesla, and they said that they were going to call me back, and they actually didn't do that, but they fixed it in the next release. So I don't necessarily need somebody to call me and tell me that they did it. I know they did it because all of a sudden it started working. So when I go through that intersection now, the car just handles the offset lanes like they're nothing. So it's quite amazing. And if anybody, if you're watching this and you don't have a Tesla, holy smokes, you got to get one. If you're a technology guy, these cars, it is a computer on wheels, and that is no joke. If you're one of those guys that always is looking forward to the next firmware update to see if his computer's going to work a little better, or electronics driver update to see if he's going to get one more frame out of a game or something. You got to get one of these cars if you can even remotely afford it. And they're really, actually, they've come down in price. I think the base model is either 38. It's not quite 35 yet. You have to pay more to get the autonomous driving, but yeah, it's so worth it. It's just so worth it. I can't stress it enough. And if you're, I don't know, it's just one of those things, but it's just worth it. So anyway, up above here is when it's raining. That's a nice waterfall that happens right here, and it's one of the tallest ones in Arizona, and I think maybe in the country. I have to look that up again, but I'll annotate that. But it's really cool when it's raining through here. We end up getting all over this area. We get waterfalls from all kinds of spots, but that's a really big one through there. I need to clean my windshield. I do apologize. I can see that it's getting a little bit of dirt through there. This was a nightmare earlier, but it looks like some people have left. In this particular area, there's cars all along the road, and it's just people swimming in the creek. Another thing about the rains that happen here, as you can see, the elevation is 5,000 feet. When it rains through here, we first moved in, we didn't believe. We've been here about 5 years now, and we did not believe that the creek would actually would flood. We had one of the guys that's in our development. He basically was saying, you got to be careful. Make sure you have enough food in the monsoon seasons, food and water, because the creek is going to flood, and you're not going to be able to get in and out of the development. And we thought he was full of what, but lo and behold, the first year we didn't have any issues. The second year we were here, the creek becomes a raging torrent, and it almost comes up to 89A, at least where we are, and it's just amazing. I love it. Their trees are crashing, they're falling, and you'll just see them watch the big full trees go by, and the crack as they run into things, and the vibrations. It's something else. It's really something. I'm a fan of nature, even when it's going a little nuts. People. So as you can see, that truck was sticking his tail out, and I squeaked by and didn't really slow down at all. But I have not gone out of auto steer or autopilot or whatever you want to call it the whole way. Ever since way back there when we were in the construction, I have not been out of autopilot. So the best thing to do when you come down here is to set your speed at the speed limit, 40 miles an hour. I have noticed that if I set it a little bit more, it will occasionally have issues and hug a line where you probably don't want it to hug a line. So as you're going around corners and stuff, and it's it's just a little too fast for it. You can certainly do it and be all right, but this will go through here to my left. Sorry, I'm supposed to be trying to be a little tour guide here too, but to the left we just went by Slide Rock, and it's one of the places that a lot of people from Phoenix and everything else bring their family out to come to Slide Rock, and it's state run. Ooh, I feel like I'm going a little fast through here. And I was, and it slowed down. And it's a little different with all of these cars. When I'm coming through here, normally, when it's not on the weekends, I don't feel quite so nervous about this. But right now, that was a little quick. But I'm going to keep going. And if I hit something, I promise to post it. If I ever have any kind of issues, I'll post it. And I had no problem with pointing out my own stupidity. So I'm sure that all you people will have no problem pointing out my own stupidity as well. So, but please be gentle, because I'm new. But yeah, here it gets a little dark. You can see it's. Hopefully this comes out on the camera, because it's really pretty with the light hitting the trees. And, yeah, it's just really nice. So I don't know if you noticed, went over the bridge. Well, you probably did, but I went over the bridge, and now the creek is actually on my left instead of the right. Now this is Junipine Resort. It's actually a really nice place. There's a nice restaurant right there, and they have fireplaces, and they have bungalows, or whatever you want to call them, or cabins right there on the creek. So it's really nice. They have nice patios and decks on the back of them, so that you can enjoy the creek. It's really nice. I'm not sure, but there's a place through here, and we must have went past it already, and if I did, I'll put it on the video, but Forest Cabins, Forest Creek Cabins, or something like that. But they have really nice places down in there, and they're all nice cabins, basically, and some of them are really big homes, and you can, depending on how big your party is, you can rent. Well, here they are, right here. Speaking of the devil, Forest Houses Resort. You can't really see it, but on the left, they have some really nice places up in there. They give you free firewood, and you can come up anytime, really, all year round. And it's just good. Nice little market cafe right there. Not as good as Indian Gardens, but it's all right. There was a little shop down there on the left that I have never gone to, so there's some stuff in here that I haven't ever gone to. All the houses are on the left, towards the creek. But as you can see, the car has been able to go through here without any issues at all. I had an issue earlier where there was all these other cars on the side of the road and people, where it slowed down kind of quick. But no real issues at all. I haven't been. There was one truck that was sticking his butt out a little bit, but I haven't had any issues at all with being too close to other cars or swerving over lines or any of that stuff. Now we're getting into an area where it might have some issues, and we're gaining altitude. We're on our way to Flagstaff, and through here it's going to get a little squirrely. Now, one thing you can't do is, once it gets up to the switchbacks, it still has problems with those, and there are certain speed limits where it's 15 miles an hour, and or there's a posted speed limit, and then there's the cautious speed limit, or for a turn or whatnot. Like this one's up here 30, and the speed limit's actually 40. But the Tesla doesn't see those signs and doesn't really know what to do with them yet. So it generally will, if it hits these turns too fast, it will slow down if it thinks it's having trouble. And here's people. I have my follow distance set for 3. So, and that is one thing that you can adjust, by the way. If you tend to like to tailgate people, I tend to not like to do that, especially if I'm running autopilot here. But there's some really pretty cliffs through here. A lot of camping here on the left. I think we're coming up on West Fork, which is actually quite a destination place in here in the canyon. It's really nice hiking right along the creek and across the creek, and there's places where you can cross and come back, and there's like one trail, it's called, I think, 7 Crossings or something like that, where it crosses the creek 7 times. Imagine that. But it's a little later in the day, so it's a little darker in here. Hopefully the camera doesn't have too many issues with it, but I think it might be a little either too bright or too dark, depending on how this camera does. I'll try to go through here when the sun's higher, so that you guys get a better idea of how it looks through here. But again, I have not done anything. It's just driving. I'm just looking around, paying attention, obviously, to the cars in front of me and everything else. But I mean, it's just, this is the way to come through the canyon, I'm telling you. And if you're worried, like, again, if you have a Tesla, then this is the way to do it. There's houses way back in there. Huh. I don't know how you get to those houses, but there's some houses that are way off to the... Oh, well, there we go. Manresa. This is a private retreat. Maybe that's part of Manresa. I don't know how big Manresa is. I didn't think that was that big. But that's actually owned by Brophy Preparatory School in Phoenix. And so that's a perk. One of the perks that you get if you go to Brophy is they take you out here a week, and they have all kinds of team building stuff that they do, and it's very cool. Our sons went to Brophy, and yeah. Here on the left there's a spring-fed fountain, and you see all the cars that are there. People come here from all around. People come from Phoenix to fill water up here. It's just the best water that you can have, really. It doesn't have any chlorine, no fluoride, none of that stuff in there, and it's just pure, good-tasting water. And we have it in our wells as well. But yeah, so if you don't live up here, you can get that water there. It's just always running, so you just come up and fill it up for free, and off you go. Bring your water bottles. I know that if you're making it this far, that you're quite an efficient. I don't know why. I don't know what you want to say. You like auto steer. All right. So speed limit is 20 through here. I'm going to leave it at 24. I am really close to the line. I don't like it that much.